Hey everybody, Nick here from another Booktube channel. Today, something a little bit different. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about myself. You see, I started this channel a few months ago, really with no intention of having it be seen by anybody. It was just a way to get my thoughts about the books that I was reading out somewhere so that I could kind of chronicle them and remember what I was feeling about a lot of the books I read. Because before this, I would just read a book and then have nobody to talk to about it, and then I would forget about it. So I really didn't expect to get any audience here, and I don't have a huge one now, but I do have a pretty good one, and I really appreciate everybody that watches them and comments and likes them. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, just so you know a little bit more about the Booktuber that you are giving your time to. So some of the basics up front. You already know my name is Nick. I am from Staten Island, New York. I'm born and raised there. I'm still there now. Please don't judge me just based on that. Staten Island is not exactly what you think it is. It is a little bit what you think it is, but I promise that there are a lot of really great people here, a lot of really smart people here, and it is a really beautiful island when you know where to actually go and visit. While I love reading, my first love was cinema. I was a big movie buff, and I remember I watched Ebert and Roper religiously as a kid, and I just saw these two guys literally just sitting in a movie theater talking about movies, giving their opinions, and I was like, you can do that? Like, that's a job? All right, that's what I'm gonna do. And so I pretty much set a goal for myself to become a movie critic. I wanted to be the next great American movie critic. I took film courses in high school. When I went to college, I was a communications major, but I had a focus in moving image study. While I was in college, I got a student membership with the National Board of Review, which was really awesome because I would get to go to advanced screenings of some really cool movies and meet a lot of incredible actors and filmmakers. Like, I've met Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Bryan Cranston, Gary Oldman, Seth Rogen, Chris Hemsworth, and a personal high achievement, Kermit the Frog, the actual Kermit the Frog. After I graduated, I worked in the field of entertainment journalism for about a year, maybe less, before I realized that I hated it. Isn't that just always the way of things? You grow up thinking you want to do something, you start doing it, and you realize it's not at all what you want or what you expected it to be. So I did it for a little while, decided that it was not fun. Once it became a job, it was no longer fun at all. So I left, and I became a bookseller at Barnes & Noble. It was going to Barnes & Noble that kind of returned me to books, because I was a big reader as a kid, and then once high school hit, I kind of fell out of it a bit. I think that happens a lot to a lot of adults. Once you hit high school, and you start to be forced to read books that aren't in your interest spectrum, that you fall off. Luckily, I was able to get back on the train because of Barnes & Noble, and I've been reading steadily ever since. So that's a little bit about me, just about my backstory. On the community section of my page, I had asked if anyone would like to ask me some questions that they want answered for this video, and I did get a handful. Thank you to Anthony, who submitted all of these, and I'll just go through them really quickly. Who is your favorite author? I realized very recently that my favorite author is Ray Bradbury. There are some authors that come close to that top spot. Kurt Vonnegut is also really right up there. I also love Neil Gaiman, but I was thinking about it recently, and the works of Ray Bradbury, not only are they spectacularly written, but they affect me at an emotional level that other books just don't. So yeah, Ray Bradbury, I would say, is my favorite author right now. What book or series made you realize you love reading? The first book series that I really got into was Goosebumps. As a kid, I was obsessed with R.L. Stine's Goosebumps books. I had a bunch of them. I read them to death. And it was from Goosebumps that I basically just jumped straight to Stephen King. But yeah, it was Goosebumps that started it all. And I do want to, I kind of want to revisit some Goosebumps books to see how they are now as an adult. I'm a little curious about that. Not only do I read prose books, but I'm also a really big comic book reader. And I think unlike a lot of comic readers, I didn't start as a kid. I started after I graduated college. And it's kind of a funny story because when I was that age where a lot of kids get into comic books, my father owned a comic book store. Like, he actually owned a comic book store, sold comics, cards, and collectibles. And I never read a single comic book in my life at that point. All I was interested in was the Pogs that he was selling. So that should give you an idea of like the time frame, because Pogs were only popular for like 6 months. But when I was in college, I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time, and I loved it. And I wanted it to continue. It finished at 7 seasons. And so I was on the old internet machine, and I saw that there was a Buffy season 8 in comic book form. And so I found a comic book shop near me called JHU Comic Books on Staten Island. And they had the comics I was looking for. So I read them, and they were pretty good. But more than that, I fell in love with the medium of comics. I was like, wow, you could do some awesome stuff here. This is a lot of fun. And, you know, now it's been, I think, close to 10 years, and I go to JHU Comic Books every single week. And if I flip this camera around, you'll see a bunch of short boxes completely full of comics. But yeah, it's a medium that I love, and it's one that I talk about specifically on this channel because I want to get other people who are maybe hesitant to get into that form of media comfortable with making that jump. Do you read manga? And if you do, which is your favorite? I don't read manga. I have just never vibed with the manga style. Even anime. As a kid, I would watch like Cartoon Network. And if you watched Cartoon Network at a certain time, you would get commercials for Toonami. And even those commercials, just seeing like the commercials for Dragon Ball Z, I would just zone out completely. Like, as soon as I saw that animation style, that art style, it just complete disconnect. I have tried. The only manga that I've read, I would say in its entirety, is Akira, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong. I think it's like Akira or something, but you know, Akira. And it was good. I enjoyed it, but it didn't make me feel compelled to go back to more, which stinks because I've heard that there's a lot of fantastic manga out there. I've heard One Piece is amazing, but I looked up One Piece and I saw that I can like insulate my apartment with the amount of volumes of One Piece that exist and only need to go back for doubles like once. So like it just seems like a huge investment of time, and I don't know. And considering I don't love the manga art style, it just doesn't seem like one that I want to make that jump towards. Who is your favorite comic book character? My favorite character from like the DC Marvel universes, I love Swamp Thing. I love Swamp Thing, and it's primarily because of Alan Moore's run on the series. I mean, I do love the originals by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson, primarily because of Bernie Wrightson's artwork. But what Alan Moore did with Swamp Thing in the 80s was just absolutely transcendent. It is some of the best comics that have ever been written. They're incredible horror comics. If you're a horror fan, I highly recommend them. But I love the fact that he is not really a superhero. He's a super being. But his whole jam is that he protects the green. He protects the environment. That is what he is about. And he'll help a superhero once in a while, only as long as it aligns with, like, is this going to help the green? No? All right, then figure it out on your own. Like, I don't care about what you're doing. I have this mission. This is what I am about. I'm also a total mark for Harley Quinn. I mean, aesthetically, it's just perfect character. What is your favorite graphic novel? I actually plan on doing a video on this topic somewhat soon, so I won't go into too much detail. I think I will say Watchmen by Alan Moore. I'll save my full thoughts for the video I eventually make, but I'll say Watchmen. Do you watch TV and movies, or do you stick to books? You would think that I watch a lot of movies now because of, you know, my whole introduction, but I really don't anymore. I really became disenchanted with the movie industry from my brief time in it. I had to watch so many movies throughout my course of my studies, and then in my the brief career in it, that I got burnt out on it and a little bit jaded. And when I see like trailers for new movies now, they just all look the same to me. They all just look super bland. So I mostly stick to watching older stuff, not necessarily stuff I've seen before, but I try to seek out the movies that take risks. So I watch a lot of horror movies because I feel like that's the only genre left where you can really take a big risk with a story. But like I don't watch the Oscar nominees anymore. I don't really care about them, with few exceptions. Just to give you an idea of the type of filmmakers that I do like, Stanley Kubrick is probably my favorite. I also really enjoy David Lynch. I think he's always making movies and stuff that is just worth talking about and worth thinking about. More recently, I think Denis Villeneuve is doing great work. Really enjoyed his first Dune movie. Blade Runner 2049 was better than the original. Fantastic. And Arrival was great too. TV shows. I'm not watching any new TV shows right now. Like I'm not even watching House of the Dragon or The Last of Us. Right now, what I'm currently watching is I'm rewatching Twin Peaks for like the third or fourth time because I love Twin Peaks. And I don't binge. I don't like to binge, so I'll watch an episode every couple nights with my partner. But she also doesn't watch a lot of TV. We mostly, it's mostly just reading around the house. All right, I feel like this has gone on long enough. I'm not that interesting of a person, but I do still hope you found this video interesting. If you have any more questions for me, you could always leave a comment or go to my Instagram at AnotherBooktuber, and you can DM me, and I can answer you there, or I can make another video like this in the future if the need arises. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today, but now it's time to get back to reading.